Okay, so we have all the pieces made. We're going to go ahead and start attaching stuff. Now, first thing you'll notice is this is way too deep, and then this one has a little bit of an edge on it. And that's because when we made that first bevel, it was being weird. So I'm just going to clean this part up first. So we're going to go ahead and say, we'll just go down to the polys, and that way they're both straight. We won't have to do them separately. I'll double click this one, and it goes all the way around. So I don't want to double click it. So in this case, I'm just going to deselect what I don't want. And I'm going to pull this up so it's even to start with. Now I'm actually going to end up pulling it higher than that, but that's fine. We'll deal with that in a second. And then, oh, there you go. Now both sides are doing it. Okay, so then I'll collapse it, convert to elbow poly. Okay, so what I want to do is actually pull this piece all the way up to where it ever intersects. So first thing I want to do is connect them, or at least line them up perfectly. And it's interesting to me that this one doesn't have a... Oh, I didn't do the subdivisions. So one thing we need to do is we need to subdivide this real quick, like we did with the other one. So we're going to grab it, and then we're just going to say symmetry, and we're going to say Y, and there we go. Now we've got the symmetry in the back, and look, it lines up perfectly. So we'll collapse that down to elbow poly again. Come to here, and do the same thing, and Y, and then collapse to elbow poly. Okay. Now, for our own sanity, we're done with the scaling weirdness, so we're just going to take half of each of this pommel and the guard, and we're going to delete them. And I can just attach them now, attach this to this, and then we can actually attach this too. And then I'm going to take this and delete half of it. Oops. Take this. Fight with me. Take half of this. Okay. So one thing we can check real quick to see if they're all lined up is I'm going to hide unselected by right clicking, and then just coming in here and seeing if these are lined up pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're not perfect. That's fine. So we're going to come over here and go 1 to vert mode. Then we're going to select all of these, and then we're going to come down to here. And that's the only ones we're going to do right now, actually. Select all of these. And then we're going to turn on our welds, and with our options on, we're going to pull it up till we get them just to snap like that. See how they snap? It looks like they aren't connected right there, but they did move. If I pull it back down, you'll see they were. See how they were different? Now they look different. Now we lost one of the verts. Okay, that's perfect. That's fine. So we're going to say yes. And now you'll see they're connected. Now for the bottom one, we need to move this up, which I guess would make sense because we made it longer when we did the symmetry. So we're going to lift this up to here and kind of do the same thing here. I'm going to grab all of this stuff, and then we're going to say weld, and it should, yeah, it should just snap automatically because it should be about the right width apart for it to happen again. So yes, and now we've got that part set up. The only parts we don't have is this stuff down here. Now, what we're going to look at real quick before we go any further is there's 2 here and there's 2 at the top that are going to nowhere. So what we can do is, let me think this through here. We're going to For this one, for sure, we'll just get rid of all these extra ones. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can say target weld and just target weld this to this. And we're going to target weld this to this. And we could technically just do symmetry on this now on the other direction too, so we're only working on a quarter of it. But we'll just leave it the way it is. And then we're going to come to our edge mode. We're going to just grab this edge. Oops. Just this edge, which is not that edge. Just these 2 edges right here. So they're just the ones that go there. And I'm going to drag it down. And I'm going to turn my transparent off while I do this. Let me change it to a color that's more visible real quick. There we go. As I drag it down, you'll see it starts to disappear at a certain point. That's just where it's intersecting with the plane. So we just want it to be about right there, and it should have been a little bit more aligned. That's fine. So we just want it right there, and then what we're going to do is come to our edge here and go Alt-R to go all the way across. And yep, you guessed it, do a connect. And oops, scale this up to just about where they hit each other. Okay. So, here's the deal. You can't attach, even though there's two verts right here, I can't weld these two verts together, no matter what I do, because you can't have a T when you make a polygon. It can only face in one direction continuously. I can't have it face in one direction on one side and then have it T and have it another direction on the other side. And I'll draw something on the board to explain it better. So what I have to do basically is get rid of these polygons that are hidden right here. This one and this one, the ones we just made when we made that that loop. So we're going to delete them just like that. And then we can just do the target weld. So we'll come in here, target weld, this to this. This to this, for whatever reason it's a little off, this to that. And there you go. So now that's closed up, and if I turn off the wireframe, you'll see it's a closed up piece. Okay. Now we're going to do something else up here, and the reason I wanted to wait up here is because we're going to have to do something at the top when we attach the sword. So I'm going to wait to finish this one up here until we do that, because I think that we need to have one more subdivision in the middle anyway, but let's see. So I'm at this point, we're gonna checking it out now. We're not gonna have that problem. So we're gonna do the same thing we did down at the bottom, and we'll figure out how to make it. These are still quads. We still have this. It's technically a quad, so we could take this and remove it, and we'd have a quad. We don't really need to though. It's a hard surface object. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did down there with this one here, and what we can do is just take these two, and instead of doing target weld, if we select both sides of these, where this vert is here and this vert is here, and we have a vert in the middle, when I say collapse, it'll snap to the middle. It won't work for this side over here because it averages, so if I take this one and say collapse, for example, it's going to pull this side. So it doesn't work in every case, but in some cases it does. So I'm going to do that. And say target weld there to there, and I'm going to say target weld here to here, and then I'm going to go to edge mode, this one and this one. I'm going to go up, I'm going to pull this until I hit a clip, something close to that, and it looks like it's a little bit off, and in that case what we could do is grab this edge and this edge and move it in just a bit. Like that. That should be fine. We could snap it to the surface, but I don't want to get into heavy snapping. Okay, so we get it here, Alt-R. We're going to go connect, and then I'm going to say probably invert, so 10. Oh, not that one. Invert 66, maybe? Max has this trick that if you push enter sometimes when you type stuff in, it ignores what you said. So in this case it doesn't. It's usually the second time you do it, but that's still not enough. This one goes a little bit higher because there's a slant on it. So we'll go to there and we'll say OK. And again, what we have to do is go to 4 for polygon mode and get rid of the polygon in the middle in here. And the polygon in the middle in here. Go to ed, go to vert mode, and just target weld this to this, this to this, and this to this. And now we have that all connected. And if we turn off the verts, it's all one big piece. It's called airtight, meaning that there's no holes. If I made this a cylinder, it would, if I put water in this, watertight's another way of putting it, it would hold water. Okay, so that's it for this part, and we'll get on to the last part of putting the blade onto it.